then
Hey guys, since I'm the one funding this thing, I'm going to bow out and not compete and not bias it. So do we have?
I'm from Germany. It's 4 over here. You are muted.
I'm from Sweden. Yeah, I'm fiddling because my recording disappeared on the way over. So I'm from Sweden, Lenny.
So I'm the only guy across the pond here. That's okay. I guess I'll just put it out there. How would you guys like to start with rounds?
I'm not putting myself forward for election simply because my project would not cover the 1,000 EOS, and so I wouldn't know what to do with that. So it wouldn't serve any purpose to stand. So I'll just help out someone practice for them standing for election.
Okay.
Who's standing for election?
I'm participating because I want to be elected.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I like to also try. If I get my recording going, I just sent over to Dominic.
All right.
I'm already recording.
Yeah, I'm recording as well. And I am looking to be elected as well. So,
okay, so everybody convince me, you can bribe me, and we're good to go. Okay. No, but like, okay, so since you all are putting yourself forward for election, let's start with Jonathan. What's your idea?
Okay, so you may know, actually, I've been in this ecosystem for quite some time. I was basically one of the witnesses, actually back then was delegates for BitShares in its first version, as well as its second version. I served as a committee member for a number of years while in BitShares as well. I was one of the original miners of Steam. I helped Dan in his original white paper back then. I've also was involved in the worker proposals in BitShares, helping Dan with that as well. So when it came to EOS, by the time EOS came around, I had actually created another blockchain called PurePlays, and we led that project. And since then, it's been in research and development for a number of years, and we developed some interesting technologies. Among them is something called a cross-chain consensus protocol, which back in 2019, I think I met with Dan about that, and we talked it over prior to us actually getting into the research and development of implementing it. But over the years, we finally got it to a production level, and we're now looking to introduce it into the PurePlays blockchain. With that, we're looking to then do cross-chain consensus with a number of different blockchains, including EOS. So what our project will be entailed is to essentially introduce EOS in a cross-chain consensus with PurePlays, and then be able to connect it to the decentralized exchange that exists there, which incorporates liquidity providing. So all those funds that would go into this project would be specifically for funding the liquidity pools for EOS within that, using that cross-chain consensus protocol. So that's where I would be aiming for in terms of how our project would be operating, and that would be the ultimate goal. In terms of timelines, we are currently in the process of connecting Bitcoin to the PurePlays blockchain. We are simply in the process of looking for the right number of node operators to do that. And right now we don't have enough. Once we do have enough though, then the consensus will be enabled. It's all in the blockchain. I believe in public, open, decentralized blockchains. This is not about running something that's going to be private. I don't agree with the direction that B1 is going in terms of creating private entities and whatnot. I really want to see this be something that supports an open, public, decentralized, peer-to-peer type of economy. And so that's where I would focus. I think it took me 2 minutes, so I'm going to step down now and let everyone else talk.
Okay. Nice. Okay, Lenny?
Yeah, I can take the next turn, no worries. And well, as I mentioned, born Swedish, still in Sweden, but I had a 35-year sejour down in Southwest Pacific. So I'm a kind of a global person, been working different areas. entrepreneur, but I am in no sense, I'm one of the odd ones out in the sense that I am not a programmer, I'm not working in blockchain, and similarly, but I've been following as much as I can for the last, 4 or 5 years, since the late 16, early 17. And I'm an all eater kind of focused on a few projects and similar, and basically trying to learn what is good. What my background is basically as an entrepreneur, but also as a member or share in a bundle of different organizations, be it business, sports, politics, different government committees, because in Southwest Pacific, I lived in a very small place, which meant if you had a little bit savvy in those areas, you very easily kind of went up and they wanted you in different groupings, and etc. And I've seen a lot of different communities, also on a global side of things. I was president for Oceania in my sport, and then I was also vice president in the international version of it, International Judo Federation, actually. And I've seen the good, I've seen the bad of communities. My interest and why I'm, so to say, following this and interested to be a part of it is I've known of Dan's vision since early on when I got into this 4 or 5 years back. So way before Genesis also, I got some of the tokens, etc. And I'm a guy who, sort of say, have a lot of experience. I've seen all the issues. I know exactly where Dan come from, and he's done a few attempts, as we know. And I feel that everyone is focused on the techniques, which is good, but I don't have a clear understanding myself. What do they want the Eden to be? Shall we be focused on the technical things and, oh, that project is good. Are those people going up? Or is it the people who kind of, like me, more neutral and have the technical understanding, not programming language or similar, but in general, on a broad base, and to be able to judge different pros and cons, and similarly, and listen to advice from a range of people to kind of try what is good for the community, what is good for EOS, and similarly. So that's my position. Plus, I'm a stickler for following the rules, governance, and all these kind of things, which have put me at bad spots at time, because most people, unfortunately, in leadership don't care much about the rules, you know. Any ways go, as long as it works. That's all I say for now.
Okay, also nice. Then I will proceed. I'm Corvin. I'm into the EOS space from the very beginning. I was core developer at Karma. I was mentor at the hackathon in London, the EOS.io hackathon. I was top 3 member of EOS.io Stack Exchange for the last 3 years. I'm very active in the community. I've helped and advised many different projects, and I just founded my first own company. For me, the elephant in the room is gaming. I believe that EOS or EOS.io is the only protocol that allows seamless gaming experience when games want to use blockchain. The speed, the low fees, the permission system, etc. And I believe we as a community need to build the tools which make it easy for traditional game developers to build on top of EOS or EOS.io. And in fact, currently there is no entry point for traditional game developers to use EOS or EOS.io. There are simply no tools for game engines like Unity 3D or Unreal Engine. We only or mostly have libraries for JavaScript. There are some specific libraries for Python and stuff like that. But if we want to adopt a completely different user group, we have to build these tools and we have to make them public and open source. And I see a big chance for EOS and EOS.io based chains for the future, because if we can adopt traditional game developers, we not only adopt the developers and companies, we also adopt the users behind. And with these users, we have the chance to grow our target audience with independent users, which are not the typical crypto users, which don't rely on prices and current markets. Players will always play a game because it makes fun, and because they like it. They will also play in 222 and 223 when the current bull market is over. My company is already working on these tools, but as we all know, if you want to build a reliable and sustainable business, you have to monetize your work. So only building open source public software for free and giving it to the community for free is not a sustainable business model. That's why we are also building our own game. But currently, we also have to monetize these tools. We are already working with companies from within the crypto space. We already have developed a few plugins and libraries for Unity 3D. They are not public yet. If I win this election, I would take 100 EOS from these 1,000 to spend them on the real election for people who don't have the money, because I'm pretty sure not everyone can pay these 10 EOS. And I know valuable people from the community, from Venezuela and stuff like that. And someone should definitely pay for their pay their fee. And the other 90% of the 1,000 EOS I would spend on building these tools and making them public for the community.
Okay. Speaking about how to spend the money, I didn't understand what Lenny would do with 1,000 EOS.
Simply because I never said, sorry about that. No, actually, I do not have a firm plan for the money. And that is mainly because if I were to come up, I mean, I'm talking about this lot that's happening now, but the same would apply even further on. And that is that you would have to sort of say, all right, evaluate, first of all, hear opinions here and similarly, and maybe approach you guys a bit. What do you think is good? I have my own ideas when it comes to the bigger concept. 1,000 EOS is, of course, value. And I like the idea with, sharing with Venezuelans and similar and other, how to find a nice way of doing it. That's always a trick. My own idea for when you talk possible larger ones in the real elections and similarly is basically to go through. I mean, we do have a lot of apps on EOS and similarly that could need help, and we have some developing as well. And for my view, the number one thing we need to have, and I've seen that through all the years I've been everywhere. I'm a community man, so I listen like the groups. I was in Lumios, which had an unfortunate end, and then I'm in bigger protocol nowadays, bigger DAC, and I've been reading every single post, more or less, in all different channels and follow everything. And the single biggest issue we have everywhere is the UI, a very difficult way. You hear the EOS issues and all these things, even from people who are savvy in Ethereum or whatever, other cryptos. And that is the number one issue. So I would kind of earmark a little bit, but possibly up to a third, 30, 40%. I mean, I haven't evaluated any of this. I don't have a plan, but at least up to a third, I would think focus on products which would simplify. We have a few today, Wombat and others, but really review the same, research the same, and look at it. Once we have a better interface, the time has come for the marketing side, and then marketing mainly blockchain as a whole, all this fighting we have against us, EOS and similar. So I would focus on applications which ease off and smooths up for any user coming in, even those that have blockchain, and then the marketing bit primarily on already blockchain savvy, but taken in by the FUD they've heard and all these kind of things, because we need to build momentum. We need to build more users and similarly for the future. And then once we achieve that and things are growing well, then might be the time. I mean, then you have more funding, hopefully, so that you can actually work more on other technical things, which might not impact the user numbers, but vital overall. Because then once you have a easy to access UI and grown into more of a blockchain areas, then come the time to try to reach out influencers and others and really push the EOS agenda by having a few excellent apps to flag in front. So that's a little bit, I'm more on the marketing side, building the community. That's kind of my kind of thing. So I don't have any that technique, that project or similarly to suggest.
That's similar to me as well, Lenny. I'm an attorney, so I'm not technical. I don't program or anything like that. I actually, about 1 to 2 weeks ago, I made a post on the EOS community forum in which I started to promote the idea that we needed a mediation tool and we need mediation rules. And so I went ahead, I used my experience as an attorney, and I drafted a set of mediation rules for an EOS mediation, alternative dispute resolution service, which will be really important when disputes happen between members, whether they be of, for example, between different vendors who make a contract and then have a problem, or even of a political nature between people in terms of the ideas. So that's what's my contribution. But in terms of this particular mock election, I saw that if I want to pursue that idea, setting up that service, 1,000 EOS would not be enough. It wouldn't. To draft the arbitration rules, to set up the entire system. So I began to think, well, how best can you spend 1,000 EOS? And I actually pretty much, I was thinking about the idea that, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, CMADH?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
It's Corwin Meyer auf der Heide. Corwin.
I saw the same idea, I think Dominic presented it in the Telegram group, which is to sponsor people. So I was thinking that the best use as a community level of the 1,000 EOS would be to sponsor individuals who cannot afford the 10 EOS for whatever reason. At the end of the day, I mean, 10 EOS is $100 US.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money to participate in an election.
It was me who started the discussion.
Oh, you started this discussion, right?
I was asking how people from poorer countries
right
should pay the fee.
That is important, and that's a very good use. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought with now 64 people participating in the demo, there will not be multiple thousands participating in the real election, I think. And I don't think funding 100 people or so is necessary. And I don't think it's something that I can manage. That's why I came to the 10% or 10 people, which I will want to fund.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 100 is just too much.
It is a lot of people, don't get me wrong. It is a lot of people. But that's the problem with 1,000 EOS, which is what, $10,000 US. It's something, but it's not enough to accomplish. Well, maybe you don't need to accomplish a lot. Maybe you just need to accomplish one small thing, which is useful.
Definitely.
Well, for what I'm introducing in terms of the work we're doing, like I have a development team that we work with. There's 12 developers, and they all handle various things from user interfaces, like you talked about, Lenny. When it comes to gaming, we actually created a Unity 3D library back in 2017, but it just never got maintained. So it's now, but I think it's a great idea what you're talking about also in terms of creating those libraries for EOS to be able to support gaming. A
Yeah,
lot of
that's
libraries,
true.
because Pure Plays is actually original fork of BitShares, it actually has the same
Well,
kind of graphene
Isn't
based.
Peer Plays from like 2015 or something? Because I started the cryptos. I started my crypto journey in September
2016.
2014.
Yeah,
And I
2016 it
remember,
originally
right.
started.
But
Yeah.
didn't Peer Play start as something to do with gaming, if I remember? Or
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So it's
So
pretty
I
cool.
understand a lot about what he's talking, what Kobe's
Right.
talking about in terms of gaming. And I also understand what Lenny's talking about in terms of interfaces and the issues there. Those are definitely very important. My take on where EOS needs to go and why I want to create that cross-chain consensus is because I believe the future of blockchain is going to be in having inter-blockchain communication, not just amongst homogeneous chains, which is what anybody can do now, but amongst different kinds of consensus protocols. And that's what we've been really focused on, why it's been so hard. So I think that that's the direction we should go. Having that kind of, even though it's just that link and being able to do that between two different chains is something which opens up a whole new world of possibilities for EOS and where we can go in terms of how blockchains connect. Blockchains traditionally have acted as kind of what are called economic moats, right? They're all walled off gardens and nobody else can get into them. I believe that has to break down. I believe that you have to have that the sum is great, that the sum is greater than the parts. And so once we start to connect with all these ecosystems together, we'll see more progress in terms of all the issues that we're having now. But it really, I think that as far as the 1,000 EOS, the amount of development we're going to put into that is going to be 10 times that, in terms of resources. And that's like the problem you're having is like, what can you do with 1,000 EOS? You have somebody like what I'm proposing actually is putting in 10 times the value of what we're going to receive. And even the value we're receiving, we're not even going to take it. We're going to put it into the network so that it actually provides liquidity so that it kickstarts everything, right? So that's just.
I just realized something from the chat. It says, assuming more than 2/3 of the room wants to run and everyone votes for themselves, would there be no representation from that room? Yes, no representation. 3 out of 4 people here are running for election. So how are we going to do this then? Lenny, you're muted, sorry.
Sorry, I got to remember to take the mic off. I'm out already because I'm not able to recording or anything. I did highlight it in the chat, but you can't go direct to Dom, but that's all right. That's not a problem. So I will not be voting on myself, even if I said I stand as a candidate. Since I'm not recording, I'm out anyway. So that means 2 of us are actually voting. So it's kind of then between 2 people here only. So, okay, 3, how much? No, I'm joking.
But actually, no, that's a good point, because I started as a joke, you're starting as a joke, but it can actually be a serious problem. What happens if...
And that's why we take notes for feedback.
Right. A bunch of people say, you know what, how much is it? I'll create a spoof project and then I'll just bribe my way. Now, obviously the recording aspect is a defense mechanism to that, because if somebody wants to review and then we'll just take part in the conversation and see, that these people are just trying to game the system, obviously. But still, it doesn't stop someone from initially gaining access to the money and then, just changing their name or whatever and just disappearing. So that's a good problem.
Yeah. Sure.
And I just want to add one thing. I did actually see that paper you mentioned about the mediation and similarly, and it was you were touching on arbitrage and similar, but most of us in EOS from beginning, we all remember the issues there were before early on and similar.
Right.
And I know someone commented that also to you.
No, that's fine. No, the thing is this, right?
It still is needed. I just want to comment loosely there before we go on.
Problems will happen and people need to have a platform where to discuss those problems. Now, I believe more that mediation, so mediation essentially for in case nobody knows, is you have a neutral person that listens to both parties and then talks with those parties and makes them understand the other person's point of view. And then those parties then talk like normal conversation, and then they reach an agreement, if possible. It's not like arbitration where there is a neutral person who makes a decision for somebody else. So mediation is more about consensus rather than telling someone, you know, that you are right and you are wrong. It's more about saying, create a new paradigm in which both of you can be right. So I believe there's a need for that. If we're going to have a large community, if people are going to do business between each other as members of the community, then when problems happen, because they always do, I'm an attorney, this is what I do. You need a mechanism. So, well, for the actual election, you know, I will design the whole system, not just, you know, the mediation rules are just a starting point. Yeah, that's. Any thoughts on that? Any?
I think we have to work on finding consensus about our group, and not. We shouldn't talk so much about other things, to be honest. I'm sorry, not even meant.
Let's do a short recap. I mean, basically, I'm out because of a recording, so that's okay. And are you still out yourself,
Sure, but you will vote for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Maybe
because I will not be voting for myself, which I would if my recording was working. So it wouldn't create an issue. So I will vote for one of the candidates here since I'm not going ahead. And Nicholson, you are still not going ahead voting wise, are you?
I will be voting, just I will not be standing for election.
Yeah, so we basically have to kind of agree on these two gentlemen, then, you and me, if we want to send someone forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Maybe we should just tell
That's
the
not
other.
Awkward. That's not
no,
awkward.
But I mean, hey, I'm a straightforward guy. That's a straightforward guy,
supposed to be easy.
Okay, well, okay. So at the beginning, I like the idea of sponsorship. And I think that's a good idea. So I will be voting for CMADH because I believe in that particular idea. That's it.
But it's only
but
a part.
Jonathan,
I think I love.
Sorry. I love your idea as well. It's just that the sponsorship thing I find it particularly important. That's all. Okay. I'll just put it out there.
I would really like to sponsor more accounts, but I think for the first election, 10 should be enough. It limits the amount of people coming to me asking for a free account or a free, however we call it. And to be honest, taking the other 90% and putting it into my company to work on these plugins would let us kind of scale the company. We are really just starting up. We are self-funded. I'm paying everything on my own. We are 5 people on the team. So it would really bring something to our company. By that, I also like Jonathan's idea pretty much. If I could vote for 2, I would vote for. No, I don't know if I would vote for the mediation thing first. It's hard. Yeah, I think I would vote for me because I think the things I will do with the money will bring value to the community. For a very different field. And to be honest, my feeling is that you don't really need the money. if you have 12 people in your team and working with them for years, I think I can make much more with the money than you.
Yeah, to be honest.
For me to balance out a little bit here, and sorry about my pinging, I'm kind of one of the late comers into Windows 10. I hated it. I've been Windows 7 over time, and it doesn't react to my canceling the pinging. But anyway, besides that, okay, Jonathan, if you then in a turn I mean, I'm the one maybe who guided us in what do we do with this money, you know, it's small, but all right, good. You become number one in Eden. You are a big shot. So what do we do with the money, Ben?
Oh, so then we start looking at like a,
Well, it's my
like
idea.
$10,000, it's like a 10,000 EOS kind of budget then?
I believe so. That will be interesting to hear that aspect. And then also you get a chance, of course, Colin.
Right. All right, so if we went from 1,000, we went to 10,000, then we're talking about 8,000, somewhere like $80,000. So $8,000, I think, I mean, I could go the same route and and look at wanting to take some of that and actually compensate the development work that would go into what we're doing here. But I think what would be interesting is actually to look at a different kind of way to facilitate this experiment, I guess I can call it. So sorry, what's your name again? Conrad? No. Coveen. Sorry, Coveen.
Yeah.
Coveen. So what Coveen was talking about with wanting to sponsor people who can't or can't afford to participate in these, I feel like that's a bit of a spinoff from the original intended design of these elections. So that would be an interesting experiment to me, actually. I feel like there's it would be interesting to see what happens there. I'm concerned with the possibility that your sponsor ends up getting into a position of favor when they go to elect and you randomly end up in the same rooms and things like that. You know what I mean? So it would be an interesting experiment, though. I believe very strongly in randomization. As a matter of fact, we got the first certification with GLI for a decentralized RNG in pure plays, and it's something that's very important to this whole process. As far as going higher is concerned, I would just look at being able to expand on what I talked about in terms of reaching out to other blockchains and being able to have them connect to EOS via cross-chain consensus protocol. There's a lot of work to be done in that, and there's a lot of infrastructure that's involved in that, and I'm not sure yet how the reward system would work. I am just actually at the point of where I'm introducing a new type of consensus protocol. It's called Proof of Pulse, and I haven't made it public yet, so I'm actually saying it first here, I guess, in the public. But only my team knows about it, and that's something that I would be looking to introduce on a higher level to other blockchains to help them to better communicate with one another and have better consensus. I know that you know nothing about it, so that doesn't really tell you much, but it is something that, in terms of what I believe in, is something I'd be dedicated to. And it's something that we've been doing for a number of years now, and working in DPoS and working in different kinds of blockchains. I'm not satisfied with the way that consensus systems work today. I don't believe that they align well with people. I feel like they've been designed to act like smart contracts and treat people like smart contracts, and people are not smart contracts. So that's why we have all the problems we have. We need to be more humanized. So the consensus I created with Proof of Pulse takes away the carrot stick method, which is what all these consensus systems work by. It's the idea that you either use a carrot or use a stick. But then by doing that, you're effectively telling people that they're donkeys, right? So this is why everybody effectively disengages eventually from the whole process, and it becomes very frustrating for everyone. So on a high level, I'd be looking at wanting to find systems that humanize the connections between these between blockchains and how we work together. Without being able to get into all the details, that's all I can tell you right now. Sorry.
Just one comment, if I may. That thing about carrot and stick, I mentioned I was president of Oceania. I was sitting for 2 years as president, wondering how on earth am I going to get things where I want to. I had to find a way which were 2 sticks, but one was much bigger than the other one. And not sticks, carrots, because you can't punish people. You can't penalize, you know, it works against the community spirit. Right. Thanks, Jonathan. Do you want to COVID mention what do you do if you become the big boss, the big money? And then I'll be quiet so you get a chance too, Nicholson.
So if this was the real elections, I would do exactly the same. I would build the tools needed for traditional game developers. I would put some part of it into marketing it, going out to non-crypto channels. There are several hundreds of channels for traditional game developers out there on Twitch, on Discord, on everything else. So I would market it. I would invite them. I would write tutorials while building the software needed for them. And additionally, if it is enough money, I would probably build a NFT marketplace just for gamers, for game developers. But I would build something that is more kind of a traditional crowdfunding just on a blockchain for games. There are many different games out there who already do crowdfunding on these traditional crowdfunding platforms. It's just that the users, the players who buy in-game assets, for example, to fund a specific project, they don't get anything into their hands. If you do the same, you're muted. If you do the same on,
I didn't want to disturb. I just need to block off for a sec. I'll be right back.
Okay. I think transitioning the traditional crowdfunding model onto a blockchain is onto EOS.io is the next thing I would build after the plugins, libraries, etc., the tools needed to build the games itself.
Bobby, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of tech stacks does your team work with?
Diffuse, Hyperion.
Diffuse. That wait, isn't
Sorry?
Diffuse an API library?
Yes, but it's part of our tech stack. So we are currently mostly working with Unity 3D, and we are, as I said, already working on these different plugins. And they are plugins for Diffuse, plugins for Hyperion, plugins for Atomic Assets and Atomic Market, for the other wallets like Anchor and Wombat Wallet, and all the tools we need and we are building are tools that other developers will need too. With things like Diffuse, it's possible to from the time you send a transaction until the state is mirrored locally in your game, it's between 250 and 350 milliseconds, which is a seamless experience. And I think that's what we need to provide to traditional game developers. Yeah. With all the other things, yesterday I had a call with Acon or ID. They are providing a API for accounts and transactions via OAuth. I think that's the next thing we should add to our portfolio. And all these things together can be kind of a small EOS.io, EOS-based tool set for traditional game developers. Yeah, and once that's built, you can put many other things on top of it. Marketplaces, governance tools, or governance specific forks, maybe of EOS DAC to govern the games on chain. There are unlimited possibilities, I think. You just have to start somewhere, and you have to monetize it. Yeah.
How are we doing for time here, by the way?
Not too sure. But
I believe he might pull us in a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes. Right. Then it should be 50 minutes.
Right. What would I do? Well, I don't need millions of dollars. I'm not going for that position there at all. In terms of what I want to achieve. What I want to achieve does not require that budget. What I have different milestones. So for example, if elected at the first round, then the rules can be further developed, especially the arbitration rules. If elected at the second round, then the actual service can be started. So setting up the actual arbitration and mediation system so that it can be ready to be used and self-sustainable. I think that budget there, the second round budget would be sufficient to do that, because the aim of the service is to be self-sustaining through the fees that people would have to pay in order for mediation to occur. Because obviously if you have a problem, so let's imagine that Corvin and Jonathan get a business together and then they have a problem. Well, there you go, that's it. There's no other way to solve that problem efficiently without that platform. It is not a very popular view because I'm not technical, but there's a lot of non-technical things that need to be done. But having said that, I've cast my vote. Lenny, it's up to you. Let's see if you can reach some form of consensus, if at all. And there's nothing wrong not reaching consensus, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of weighing a little bit back and forward. I mean, gaming, just to give my comments on gaming, I knew, and I way back from beginning, that would be one of the big ones, just like esports is a big one also. And similarly, you know, it's people. And that's the big grabber for particularly the younger generations. And similarly, I myself, not so much into it, but, you know, it's a big sector. It's going to grow forever and ever, and there's no doubt about it. The question is then is, all right, good, that's nice, that's beautiful, but does that serve a purpose also towards a better community and those things? That is my kind of vision. I'll go back again to Dan's vision. Main reason why I'm here and trying to find is someone or those kind of people or those kind of projects that actually would serve, so that you might see those people up in charge who actually consider it all, not only speak for their own thing, but can judge it. That goes a little bit against Eden philosophy, because we're supposed to have a consensus. This is a guy or a project we believe in, but is it the project or the personality? That's always an issue. I'm not quite sure. So that's something I'm going to raise after this first test one also, because then some of us can just drop out right away, so to say. But I know exactly what you mean. Power corrupts. I was vice president in National Olympic Committee in, well, Kingdom of Tonga, next to Fiji down there. I resigned after 2 years, and then people tell me I should go in again and take care of it and so. But then same times, when he says, yeah, Lenny's a good guy, but once he get into power, boom, he's going to be like everyone else. And that's what we see everywhere, politics, everywhere. It doesn't matter who comes in, how many can withstand all the lobbying, friendships, and all these. They are few. I claim to be one, but who knows? No one knows until it's tested. Okay, I'll be quiet and let you guys continue. I have not honestly made up my mind. I'm leaning toward Jonathan, mainly because of this more community aspect and similarly, but I'll make my final decision after we get kicked out. But I'm leaning towards Jonathan. So that might mean that we have a divided community.
So how does that work then? Sorry, I don't understand. We get kicked out and then we vote. Sorry, because I'm confused on that technical.
When 50 minutes are out, he will close these rooms. We get back in the room, or he maybe just close the whole session. Then we get kicked out totally, and then we go back into the Eden test voting telegram, and there we put which room are we in, and this is room 7. And then also who do we vote for using these telegram names. Well, you know, I don't think we have any of the volunteers here, do we? I'm not a volunteer.
No, I'm not a volunteer at all.
I'm a volunteer.
Even if we don't reach,
I'll be quiet, you talk.
No, but even if we don't reach consensus, at least maybe Corvin and Jonathan have met and they're interested in the same kind of thing. So
I think
that's pretty cool, no?
we should reach consensus. Both ideas of me and Jonathan are great. And I think both are worth getting into the next round. It's just that only one of both can make it into the next round. And yeah.
Oh, Nicholson.
I just wanted to say that if you, Lenny, and I forgot the other name, our mediation.
Oh,
what's the name
Nicholson.
again?
Just call me Nicholson.
Nicholson. Okay.
It's easier.
I just wanted to say, if you vote for Jonathan, you both, I would vote for him too, and consensus is reached. But as Lenny so far doesn't know who he votes for.
So
That shows
I-
strength, Colvin. That shows strength in a way. Stupid to not have consensus. And you understand my angle, the community building, the gaming. Yes, it's number one. It does my marketing side. Yes, it takes care of development and volume. But the core function that I'm dreaming about is Dan's vision, the community leadership and similar. And then you need to have a broader range. So that's why I would like to go on, Jonathan. And if Nicholson agrees, hey, thank you, Colvin. That's a strong suit
so
for next time.
This
part
is
of
the
my-
problem. Sorry.
Sorry, I just want to say that part of what my understanding of what we're doing here and in terms of the governance system that Dan wrote about in his book and everything else is that in these rooms, the representative that goes ahead really should be somebody who carries forward the wishes of what was discussed. So just putting that forward in terms of like, I mean, a lot of what I'm doing is about building infrastructure and community building, but at the same time, with the work I've done with Pure Plays, it's all the kind of stuff that Colvin has been looking to want to do with EOS. It's definitely along the lines of what I see being very important as well. I've been down that road. The problem we had in the past in dealing with the gaming world is that it's just, it was just the time for blockchain, like it was just how people perceived cryptocurrency at the time. Now we're starting to get into this bull cycle and everybody's talking about it now and wanting it. So I think that even going forward, if I was to even go to the next level, I'd be looking at supporting somebody like Covine as a developer to creating tools like that. We've got our developers are all over the world. Like Covine he's not a part of our team, but he could just as well be a part of our team to help out and because all of our development's open, we do everything publicly. Like we're one of the very few teams that actually you could see everything that's happening in our GitLab, and the discussions are all public, where most developers, they're all in closed doors. So I think that it would be responsible if I was to be elected myself to carry forward the vision. And it is almost a part of the vision that we've had in the past with Pure Plays. It's not part of what we're going towards in the future per se, in terms where I'm really focused in community building and being able to develop this new type of consensus amongst blockchains. I think that that's where we're going to be able to go next level with connecting better with people and not this little ecosystem of crypto fanatics, right? And so I just like to put out there that I'd probably end up supporting COVID all the same.
So
Thank you.
this is the problem. You both have good ideas. And it is, I find, is unfair that only one idea can go forward and the other idea is discarded, because the other idea, whichever one it is, by the way, is not waste. It is a good idea. So this is the issue that I find with consensus, which is it can block any idea from going forward if consensus is not reached. And consensus is not sort of only a rational thing. I think, Lenny, it was you who mentioned something about personality as well of the person. So if anything, in terms of feedback that I have for this project, consensus is, it should be a different type of consensus. I mean, 2/3 or whatever, the type of majority has to change. Because as I said, I don't find it fair that only one project gets to go through. And in order for that one project to go through, it requires a really broad agreement and then, you know, the other idea just gets cast to the side. I think we could have a system of first place and second place, if that makes sense. But I mean, that's just feedback at this point.
Yeah, I consider all this to be an experiment. So we'll see how this goes. It's not much of an experiment. It is an experiment for what we're doing in this type of setting. But I have been in communities that had a similar type of election process, but it was all done in private. It wasn't open like this, where we were telling everybody who our vote was. But I think that what you're talking about, I totally understand what you're saying, that what we have isn't good enough. And so the new type of consensus that I'm actually introducing, called proof of pulse, it goes off of the concept of heartbeats, and that the people of the community become the pulse of that heartbeat. And the entire ecosystem has different heartbeats. And what happens is that instead of having this process where it's like, okay, you're in, you got it, and after that, you're on your own and you have full control, which is where the corruption comes in, like you were talking about. Instead of that, a pulse is something where the community ongoing is able to continuously vote and continuously be able to decide whether they support or deny something. And these pulses come in a kind of a game-like fashion, so that ongoing, it randomly allows people to get this input of like, oh, there's this thing that's available, this heartbeat. What is the response I'm going to give to it? You then connect with community and understand what that's about, and then put in your pulse to that. And these pulses are random and they're ongoing. And eventually it becomes like a market signal that happens, so that there becomes this median, and there's no one person that just has this full control. Like it's not giving somebody a mandate. It's not this traditional type of governance, but instead a type of an ongoing pulse, so that as the community wants to go a certain direction, it'll slowly move in that direction, and then slowly move in other directions, depending on the pulse of the community as they respond to the heartbeats that they're receiving. So this new type of consensus is really out there, like nothing like that. But I think that it's far better than the systems that we've tried in the past, because what we are experiencing right now, I believe, is trying to create decentralized community using centralized concepts from the old world. And all these old type of systems that we've been already pre-programmed with in our lifetime experience are not working to create new types of paradigms. And so we keep on trying to put these old systems into this new thing, trying to create something new, but by design, you end up with the same result, right? You end up having the same type of the same type of corruption, the same kind of oligarchy happens, the same kind of, no matter what you say, if the system's designed the way it is, it's going to end in the same result, right? And so that's what we're experiencing in the blockchain world today, as far as this whole issue of governance. And I haven't talked about Dan with this. I've had one-on-ones with Dan recently in the past, but I understand what he's saying with his book, but I'm not convinced that it's going to get the result that he's hoping for, just because we are still in the mode of empowering an individual and giving them a mandate, and then expecting that that's not going to go corrupt, right? We're trying to, again, it's this control thing. People are wanting to be autonomous, right? And all these rules and all these things that we're creating, really, it needs to be in such a way that people are intrinsically motivated and not extrinsically motivated by what we want to happen. And unfortunately, as soon as you put the money in front, as soon as you put that carrot, and that's all they're motivated for, as soon as that carrot moves or something else, then the real impassioned type of stuff that creates amazing stuff, that just never comes out of us as people, right? That's the carrot is the smart contract type of way of he's a machine, he's going to go for the carrot, right? He's a machine, he's a donkey, he's going to go for the carrot. So we need to stop that, and we aren't stopping that. And I think that the consensus of Proof of Pulse I created is actually to stop that, is not to have that process, but to allow for intrinsic interest in the processes of the heartbeat, and then they become the pulse.
I think we must be over 50 minutes by now, and that means we're running
The
over,
other-
and he's closing.
The other groups are already posting their hash.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So I think we better finish, and we don't have to read consensus here, but maybe in the end, I mean,
Sure.
I would go for
So-
Jonathan myself.
How do we go to the next room then?
I think just say leave room, and then normally
Oh.
you get an option, but I think it
Oh.
might be more, yeah, it's only leave meeting left. They even close the main meeting room. So we better get out of here and give our votes. In the
Okay.
Telegram, we give our votes. And the guy now who, if one of us three, well, of the two, get the votes enough, then don't forget to vote for yourself. Well, you're the volunteer. Sorry, I'm
Isn't it,
stretching you. But
if-
you got to send your video in, so you got to
Yeah.
process your video and all these things. So,
Yep.
hey, pleasure to get to
If-
know you guys.
Yeah.
It's great to meet all
Short
of you.
thing,
I'll
short
see you
thing,
on Telegram.
if Lenny and Nicholson vote for a different participant, we can't reach consensus, right?
Yeah, correct. So I'm hoping that Nicholson votes for Jonathan with the extra words he added. But like he would be, but I do it for the long-term perspectives. This particular plot here might be, yeah, sure, but I'm doing it for the longer-term prospects.
I will vote for consensus. If you guys vote for Jonathan, I
Well,
will-
consensus means
Just to-
3 is enough out of 4. You know,
Yes,
if
but
you're
I
forced
think
to do it.
I
Okay.
don't want to kind of I don't know the English word. I want consensus. If it's not me, it should be Jonathan.
And like I
That's
said,
fine.
that's strong. That's very
That's what I
strong.
want,
Much
yeah.
appreciated and kept in mind.
I will
for
not.
future.
I will
Okay.
not vote for me if it
Well,
doesn't make sense. That's
then
what I'm saying.
if since I was going to vote for you, Corbin, and you don't want and you want to achieve a different result, I'll respect that. And obviously, I will vote for Jonathan, and so that we can move forward. Remember the whole first place and second place concept that I have. Both ideas are good. It's just that was one thing extra that you had that interested me personally more. But I think I might make a post on this first place, second place concept, because I think it is important, and I don't think ideas that simply just aren't voted in should be discarded. That's it. But anyways, guys, so
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that.
You better get out so he have
Okay.
time to process the video as
Okay.
well.
Gotta process
okay.
it.
Okay,
Pleasure
see you
to meet
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.